G'day folks, and thanks for joining me once again. Although if this is your first time, make sure that you subscribe, turn on those notifications, and while you're down there, smash that like button. Anyway, for those of you who do know, my last video was a gaming video, and because I had so much fun doing it, as you can probably tell, I've decided to do another one. Except this time we're going to do things a little bit differently. So I'm going to do one of those magical wipe things and we'll be straight into it. Let's roll. Okay, so as you can see from the screen, I'm now tucked away in the corner, of course, but this is actually Forza Horizon 5. So I've been playing this game a little bit since it first came out. Haven't done much for the last couple of months, but as mentioned in the last video, I'm now using this as sort of sim drifting training for when I actually hit the racetrack in my own race car. Because you know what? I have seen the footage on other videos where sim drifters are being put into actual race cars and they do pretty damn well. So even though this isn't a professional setup, it's definitely a great place to start. Anyway, as I was mentioning, what we've got here is actually some of my favorite cars. I've had to remove a few of them so it's easier to find the ones that I'm actually going to be sharing with you guys today. And what I'm doing is a comparison to try and work out the best way to set up a drift car so that I can learn how to do the real thing when I do the real thing. Now, as you can see here, I've actually got a couple of the same car, but it's these four that I'm flicking through now that we're going to be focusing on because, well, Nissans are basically, you know, international drift language for drift car, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I've got two of the S15 Silvia, which is what it says here, the R-Spec 2000 model, and the two of the 240SX. Now, they're all completely stock with the exception of one of each of these two cars has had one change, which is from the standard tires to the drift compound, because I don't fully know what the real go is with the drift compound tires in this game because we haven't had those before. And I thought, well, why not just have a bit of a play? And as I go through all of this, I'm going to be sharing with you guys little modifications that I'm doing because I'm going to make sure that each car has exactly the same modifications, two of the same, of course, so that I can compare standard tires to the drift tires, see what's going to work better for me, and you guys can make of it what you will. So like I said, all four of these cars right now are completely stock with the exception of two of them having only drift tires added, and that is it. So as you can see here, this one that I'm actually highlighting now, the black one, is the one with the drift tires. As you can see the number there, those little numbers are basically performance ratings or whatever. That one's completely stock. This one completely stock. That one has had the drift tires. So what we're going to do is go to the completely stock S15. Oh, we don't want to remove from favorites. I'm actually already in this car right now. And you know what? Let's turn the mute off because, well, why not? In any case, so we're going to back out of this and jump straight into the game. Now, I've been playing this for a little while, so I have got a few bits and pieces, got a few credits, which is their version of money. And I'm going to do what is known as fast traveling because, well, it takes too long to drive and I'm sure you guys will get bored too easily. Now, there is a nice little area just down here. For those of you who don't know, I actually like to drift down here because it's got some nice corners. Unfortunately, there is some traffic, so I do bash into it sometimes, every so often. But because, well, it's not real, it doesn't really matter, does it? Remember, always drive safely on the road. Public disclaimer, whatever, BS. In any case, we're going to turn the controller off. I only use it because it's quicker and easier to maneuver around the game. But now that we're actually going to be driving, well, I'm going to use the steering wheel because how else can we simulate what we're doing? So, let's have a look at what a stock S15 does in this game. For those of you who would like to join me while I'm playing, my Xbox name is the ADHD Dad, spaces in between each of those words. And yeah, we can play alongside one another. And I don't think I'm going in the right direction. So let's flick it around. Hang a bit of a Yui. That sounds terrible. Look, these are great cars when they're modified, but stock, can't say I'm a big fan, and wow. Turns out I drive even worse in a standard car than the modified ones. Well, I suppose we knew that was coming. It's a bit of a look-see. into the corner, a bit of a handbrakey. Whew, that was crap. So was that. Oh, destroyed someone's, oh, I don't want to say house the end because it's not a house, but well, destroying someone's stuff. Good thing these cars are bulletproof, eh? Bloody hell. I haven't done, well, turned off the, what do you call it? The GPS thingy from before, so we better do that. Now, I'm not going to use this car for much longer because honestly, it sucks. So we may as well give it a bit of a go with the drift tyres. Although, oh jeez, this is glitchy as. Dodgy Aussie internet, why can't they use actual decent stuff to make sure that we've got internet that keeps up with the rest of the world? You know, no wonder they think Aussies are so slow because, well, pretty simple when it comes to doing a job, we always half-ass it. At least that's how our government does it. We all know how much of a fan I am of government at the moment. So it's safe to say this totally stock S15 is, well, fucking woke. I mean, look, it does drift, but yeah, pretty crap. In any case, we're going to do a magic wipe and I'm going to reappear in the other S15 with the drift tyres. I'll be right back. Okay, so here we are back in the, we're now in the other Silvia, which has the drift tyres on. Let's see how this thing goes. Now it says in the, what do you call it? When you're in the upgrades menu, these tyres are stickier than stock. Now, from what I can tell, I don't know how accurate that really is because it seems to slide a lot nicer just by changing the tyres. Now, if you're wondering why the screen looks a little bit sort of delayed and slow, it's because, well, right now it seems to actually be delayed and slow. Kind of like me a little bit. You'd think it'd make it drifting easier. No, it's actually the opposite because, well, the game's still wanting to play, but the screen is non-responsive. Bloody flippin' fucking flagging. In any case, just from my very, very brief interaction here, I feel that these drift tyres are better on a stock car than the stock tyres, even though they are meant to be grippier. They definitely want to drift better and I get better control as well. Go figure. I'm going to keep having a play with this and I'm going to also try out the 240. I'll let you guys know how that goes. When I come back, I am actually going to have a couple of basic mods into these cars just to make them a little bit more drift friendly. So I'll get that done. See you guys in just a moment. Okay, so while I'm quickly flicking through, as you can see here, this is the S15 that has the stock tyres. Now I did just have a bit of a play with the 240 and I've already upgraded both 240s and the other S15. I'm just going to walk you guys through what I'm going to do with this car specifically. Just so you know, I did test out the 240 on the big drift run that's in Forza 5 and straight away I can tell that the drift tyres are better for slide, better control, and we're able to actually get that completely underpowered car to go sideways in a way that's more than just being, you know, a P-plater that's just got his license. In any case, what I've done with all these cars, actually I'll quickly back out of this because I've actually put a different motor in each of these cars. Now, for both 240s, I put in the 2.6 litre TT engine, or straight six, which TT twin turbo, being a 2.6, I'm going to guess it's the RB26 out of the Skyline GTR. It does kind of sound like an RB motor, so we're going to go with that. For the S15s, though, I've actually gone with the 6.2 V8, which I'm assuming is an LS3, given what it is and how it sounds. Now, as you can see here, I've upgraded the brakes, which I've done across the board for all the cars, because, well, you need to be able to stop. I'm putting in front and rear sway bars. These ones are the rear sway bars just now, or I can't remember what the Americans call it, but basically this is to stop the car from sort of tipping side to side, which we can make it do because this is fully adjustable. This here is the weight reduction, which if you can see here, I'll show you now, just in the bottom of the screen, you can see that weight, 1,082 kilos. So that's down from 1,274. So we've had nearly a 200 kilo drop, or 192 as it says up there, which is pretty good. So we've got a car that weighs just over a ton with a fair bit of grunt once we put that V8 in. Now, I have found out mucking around that, as you can see here, I've installed already the race springs, because even though these say drift springs, it actually sits lower with this suspension in or you can get it to go lower. Not so true for the 240, so it doesn't really matter either way, whether you go the race springs or the drift springs. But in this one, I managed to get it down about saying just over a centimetre, which is 11 mils. So look, it's not a huge difference, but you can see the car bobbing up and down. Now, I like my cars nice and low, kind of like my standards. Well, at least for the most part of my dating life. So anyway, take from that what you will. Anyway, we're throwing in the clutch to make the gear changes a bit quicker, so it's easier to keep the drift going. Transmission, so we can adjust the gear ratios in the car, because, well, having that sort of ability allows us to keep the gear ratios close together, means we can keep the RPM high, because drifting is massively about RPM. The more RPM you have, the more likely it is you're going to be able to continue the drift. Now, the prop shaft or the tail shaft, lightening that just again makes it quicker and easier to spin the motor up, get through the rev range, because you want to hit those top RPM or the top revs as quickly as possible. All these diffs are identical as far as I can tell. We just go the drift diff because it locks the diff more. A lock diff just means it's more likely to skate sideways, and there are other benefits which once I get in my own car, we might go through. Now, what I'm going to be doing here is, as you can see, 6.2 V8. We've had a jump of 123 kilowatts, which is, I think, about 200 horsepower from the top of my head. Definitely sounds better than that pooey bloody 2 litre that's in it. So we're going to go straight into that, back out of this. Now, I haven't done any cosmetic upgrades to the S15. For the 240, I did change the front bar just because, well, why not? Before we go into the wheels, I did, however, for the S15, just change that because it does change the sound of the car, as you can hear here. Now, there are other things that can help change the sound, but for now, that's probably the best sound that we're going to get given the amount of power that we've got coming out of it. And again, lighter flywheel, this is just going to help us get to those revs that we want to be at a lot quicker. So we're just going to back out of that, jump into the wheels here. Now, I just should say, for the 240, I didn't do any engine changes except for that flywheel because, again, we want to get those revs up, but I didn't want to change anything in the motor yet because, well, for a little less power in a car like that, we can just sort of see how that goes. Now, what I did do for all 4 cars, though, widest front tyres possible, which is a 245mm, nothing spectacular, excuse me. Left the back ones as stock. We also went to the biggest size we could for the front rims and left the back on stock, give it a bit more of that, drift missile look. I also pushed the front track out as far as possible for all the cars, left the rear as standard and changed all the wheels. Now, I have put identical wheels on both the 240s, and you know what, we might go something similar for the S15s. Let's see what we've got in here. We've got to try and keep the weight roughly the same. Now, 1 kilo may not seem like a lot, but it can actually make a world of difference. And you know what? I'm just going to keep flicking through this. So I'm going to quickly jump across once I've changed these wheels. Oh, actually, I'll pick the wheels in a moment. Come back to that, and that's it. So next time you see me, we'll be at the big drift run, ready to go downhill in this bad boy with stock tyres to see how we go. Okay, so just before I actually start testing out this car, I thought I should probably point out that because I've got the racing suspension in, not so much the drifting suspension, the alignment, as you can see up here, is not quite the same as what the drifting would be. So all I'm doing is changing that. So changing the negative camber, so bring those wheels more like that, to 5 where it should be on the drifting, or the drift suspension, and just pushing that front caster out. Now, if you want to know more about that, we can go into detail another time. Leave a comment below if you'd like to actually know more about why I'm doing that. But otherwise, we're going to keep going. So we've set that up so it's a little bit closer to the actual drift suspension because, well, camber is good, too much is stupid and is stancy boy, and, well, apparently it's a thing. Not my thing, but anyway. So we'll give you guys a bit of a quick rundown right now of what this car is like through this entire run, and then I'm going to go off and test the rest of them so that you guys aren't bored shitless. Now, I haven't done any actual tuning to any of these cars yet because we just want to test them out. As you can see, well, it's definitely getting sideways a lot more than what it was before, excuse me, but, well, being that we've got stock tyres on, it definitely does want to turn around a lot more than what I would like. Gee, God, I'm going to rewind that a bit because, well, I want to at least try and make it halfway down the mountain before I get the big failed sign up. Now, as you can see, I'm not doing too great because we've probably put too much power into the car for these tyres, and we haven't done any tuning whatsoever, so this thing is going to be a bit ordinary. However, being that we have got that extra bit of power, at least it's going sideways, staying sideways, and, well, we're able to get a little bit more of a feel for this car in general. All right, well, as you can see, I'm not having the greatest amount of luck because, well, shit. But in saying that, this car is also not set up properly for drift just yet. So it's not totally my fault, but we'll say it's a fair majority of the problem. What do they call it? Operator error. In this case, the operator is errored. Very much so. But as you can see here, at least this thing is performing a little better than the last one. As I've probably said now 5 times because I'm not really paying attention. In any case, I'm actually going to stop the recording there. Insert magical wipe right now. Alrighty, so I've just finished the run in the second S15, the one with the drift tyres. And I can tell you right now that once you've added in a little bit of power, plus all the other upgrades of course, well, the stock tyres seem to perform much, much better. Now, I haven't tested the 240 yet, so we'll see how we go with that because that does have slipperier stock tyres as such. So I'll let you know how that goes in the next video. I'm also going to have a bit of a play around with some of the settings, tunes, maybe just add in a couple other bits and pieces to try and stabilise these cars because for the amount of power I've put into them, it is actually too much for, well, the setups that I've got, and I'm just turning around way too much, which, look, for a tip-in or a skid, great fun. However, for what I'm trying to do, controlled drift or slide, yeah, nah. To give you an idea, the run that I just did in the S15 with the drift tyres, the score was 497,000 versus the one in the stock tyres of 543,000. Now, that's nowhere near the PB of, was it 827,000 with the steering wheel? Slightly different S15 again, still got the V8. However, the score isn't a direct representation of how I actually performed. It just gives you an indication on how you're going as such because, well, I mean, you can always do a nice looking drift and keep things going and it still racks up score even if you screw up. So it's not an exact thing, but it does give you a bit of an indicator, kind of like scales when you're trying to lose weight. It's only an indicator, doesn't actually give you a direct representation of what's going on inside your body. So in saying that, I'm actually going to sign off for today. So remember, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. And we'll see you guys in the next video with, like I said, the how I go with the 240, along with a couple of other bits and pieces. And as I'm heading out, I'll show you some of the footage of me trying to get down this downhill run in the S15 with the drift tyres because, well, yeah, well, it's not good. So hopefully you get a bit of a laugh. And until then, we'll see you guys next time. Take care of yourselves.